Uh, so getting into some of the characteristics of plant cells that are different than animal cells. Obviously, we know that plants and animals are very different, and the reason is because of three pretty distinct organelles. The first of those is the cell wall, which provides additional protection and support for plant cells. So here, all around the outside of the plasma membrane, this has a second layer to the outside that provides the cell with structural support. So basically, that's why we have stems and leaves and shoots and roots, because the plant is being supported not by a skeleton, but by these cell walls that are held outward by water. So they help the plant to keep the water inside of it so that it doesn't lose any of that water. If you think about animal cells can basically move around, and if I'm an animal, which I'm made of animal cells, I can go get a drink of water if I'm thirsty. But a plant can't do that. It doesn't get up and move to wherever it needs to go. So it has to be able to keep as much water inside of it as possible, and it has to be able to survive the environment. And a lot of times the environments are pretty harsh for plants because they're exposed to the sun and to all the elements and to the wind and to all kinds of animals that want to eat it. And so we've seen this diagram before where we've got one cell, we've got the plasma membrane here on the inside, the big thick cell wall on the outside, and it's butted right up next to these other cells, and they're linked together by that plasmodesmata that allows materials to pass through the cell walls from one cell to another cell. And so this is what it looks like under the scanning microscope. It looks like a tightly packed puzzle. So another cell organelle that is extremely large in plants, this can take up 50 to 90% of the cell volume. It's huge in plants because they need to store as much water as possible. Not only water, though, they also retain some of the other things inside of the vacuole. So here you can tell this is pretty characteristically a plant cell because first of all you can see the chloroplasts, and second of all you can see the giant vacuole here on the inside. So the vacuole basically functions like a big swimming pool. It's a storage area for nutrients, for water, and it can also take poisonous materials like toxins and pull it out from the rest of the cell and keep it away from the other parts, the other cell organelles. It has pigments inside of it, like if you see your beautiful red flowers or orange flowers, the pigments that are in those flowers are found inside of the vacuole, and that's what allows these plants to be able to attract birds or attract insects if they need those things for pollination. So if you think about the flowers that are in your garden and the bees floating around, the pigments that attract the bees to the colorful flowers are found there inside of the vacuole. They also help to provide physical support. The more packed it is with water, the tighter and more erect the plant stands up. So you can think of this as turgor pressure, like a big plant cellular water balloon. And it's huge. So the central vacuole can play an important role in 5 different areas. The first thing is that it stores the nutrients there. So a lot of times you hear, oh, you should eat your vegetables, it'll help you to get your vitamins. Well, the nutrients are stored within the vacuole of these plants. It also functions in waste management. It's where a lot of the processes from cellular respiration and the different energy harvesting that happens in the cell, the byproducts of that get sent to the vacuole. They can help in predator deterrence. So they may have something really nasty tasting inside of them, or they may have something that's poisonous or stinging, so that plants, when the predators get near them, they tend to learn that it tastes bad, or it causes their mouth to sting, or it kills them, and then they don't eat too many of them because it's got its natural deterrence. It helps in the sexual reproduction of the cell by helping the plants to be able to attract pollinators, and it provides physical support. So then another organelle that we talk about when we talk about plants is the chloroplast. Chloroplast is what you all imagine is the green part of plant cells. This is a place where all the photosynthesis is taking place, and basically they look like big green chocolate chip cookies. They have all of these cycloids on the inside, and the cycloids are like little stacks of cookies, and that's where all of the photosynthesis is taking place. That's where your plants are taking in the energy from the sunlight, and they're combining it with carbon dioxide and the water that they're picking up, and then all of this energy is made, and that's a good thing because that's how plants make their sugars, and that's how plants make oxygen, which is what we are breathing. So if there were no plants on Earth, we would be in deep trouble as a species. So they're found throughout the cell, and they are the characteristic bright green, and they're just producing tons of energy. So the stroma is what's found here around the chloroplast, and it's basically interconnected to these little flattened sacs that are called cycloids. These little stacks of cookies are the cycloids, and the stroma is the in-between area. And so site of photosynthesis, it's where it's collecting all of this light. And so before we had talked a little bit about endosymbiosis, just very briefly about how scientists have hypothesized that the reason we have the reason we may have eventually evolved over millions and millions of years from cells with bacteria inside of it is because the chloroplasts actually resemble some photosynthetic bacteria. So some bacteria, it's not just plants that are photosynthesizing, it's also bacteria. And these chloroplasts have their own DNA inside of them. It's circular, just like a bacteria's DNA, and it's got a dual outer membrane. So what may have happened in the beginning is there may have been very simple cells that pulled these photosynthetic bacteria in them because they're producing lots of energy, and then plant cells would have reproduced with the bacteria inside them, and eventually after such a long period of time became permanently meshed together, and those are the precursors to the plant cells that we see today. So the I keep thinking 9, it may be 10, review of all the cell structures. So we've got our nucleus that's in the center of the cell and holds all of the DNA, and it's the site where the RNA is coming out through the nuclear pores and directs all of the cellular activities for the entire cell. Then we have the cytoskeleton. The cytoskeleton is providing that structural support, so it's like an internal skeleton inside of the cell. You've got your mitochondria, which is where all of the energy production is taking place. We've got our lysosomes that are digesting and recycling the old products. The rough endoplasmic reticulum that has ribosomes stuck to it, and it modifies those proteins and gets them ready to be shipped. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum, where you synthesize lipids and take the toxins out of the molecules. The Golgi apparatus, like the post office that packages everything up and sends them to the plasma membrane to send them out of the cell. And then the ones we only find in plants are the cell wall, the vacuole, and the chloroplast. So there is our review of everything that's found inside all of your cells. That's what's kind of amazing about this, is besides the plant ones, all of that is found in every single one of your cells.